Somebody brought their rat.
It sits at my desk. Can I be like
So
that? Let's do it.
I just clicked the live button. It'll go live on YouTube. If you have a speaker on in the background, or if you have YouTube running with the volume on, you'll get a big echo.
Should I get headphones just in case? I do.
I'm still waiting to see if it goes live. It says live in 19. Wait a minute. Let me update the screen. All right, we got an issue. Why is this not working, folks?
You know, I think you're the most technologically savvy out of all of us.
I was thinking about this morning or this afternoon, that it is funny that you are.
Oh, there's Fletcher.
The dialed in one.
Yeah, we're all like.
There he is.
Yes.
What's happening?
So I hit the live button, and I'm waiting to see. I don't know why it's not showing up on YouTube Live.
What are fans going to do?
It's supposed to directly go right into my... I guess I should have tried that, huh?
Yeah, you are scoffing at me talking about practice.
Yeah, well, somebody put me up to that.
What happened to tech inspection?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're live. Yeah, well, somebody put me up to... All right. For some reason, it just doesn't... I've got 2 computers, 3 screens, 2 different cameras, and a bunch of other crap around here. But, yeah, so anyway, I even got my green screen somewhat working.
Did you?
But
it looks great.
good to see everybody. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So let's start off with, how was Homestead?
Crazy.
So first, introduce yourself. Tell us how long you've been riding motorcycles, how long you've been racing, and what you think of Homestead, because I know you've been mainly up here at Loudon, but you went to one of the southern tracks down there where I used to race. And so go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Wei. As you know, I started racing, I guess, mid this year. So I got my motorcycle license just a little over a year ago. During COVID, I got laid off from my job, so I actually had time to pursue some passions that I wouldn't have had. So during that free time, I took an MSF course, got my license, and bought my first motorcycle probably last September. And then rode for I guess half a season, and then I showed up at the Loudon Classic this year, did 2 days of B school, got certified, and then bought a race bike the same weekend and then started racing with you guys a month after, and here we are now.
Well, that's great. That's not having any more time on a motorcycle and getting right out there on the track. That's great. What did you think of Homestead?
It was super different. At first I was a little nervous because everyone said it's a super high speed track. It's probably twice the length of Loudon, if not longer. I think it's like 3.5 miles. And it's with CCS. So it's just like a completely different set of people. And it was also a Ducati's Rev event on the Friday before the races, and also Florida Man. So I was definitely a little concerned. But the track itself is really cool. I've come to realize that every track kind of has their own like little things that make it unique. and really hard to ride. But I had a really good time, and I've never hucked myself down like a turn so fast in my life. It was great.
Yeah, you'll find most of the tracks down south are a lot smoother, and they're way faster. That's, for instance, Roebling Road's 2.01 miles, and my lap times there on my 600 were 116s, which a lot longer track and a lot faster track. It's got almost it's a long straightaway if you ever watch videos of it.
Wow, do you
How
get
about-
all the way up to 6th gear?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's fast.
Yeah, it's fast. Let's
That's
move
kinda
along
two
to
sets of long straights, isn't it?
I'm sorry.
The Homestead is kind of two sets of long straights, isn't it? Kind of
Yeah.
down the one end, little infield, and then long
I
way
would
back
say
again.
that you have like 2 really long straights and 2 shorter straights. So like kind of 4 straights. I hit like 5th gear at least 4 times.
Not loud.
No, not at all.
Not loud. Fletcher, why don't you go ahead, and then once we get through the introductions, then we could just have an open chat and we can discuss what's coming up.
Cool. My name's Fletcher. Last year was my first year actually racing proper, but I started riding with Penguin School in 2014, something like that, back when they still went to Cane Inches, a small track, just kind of, it's on the, I guess, east or western edge of New Hampshire. Really fun track, small kart track, kind of up 2 gears, down 1 gear, really smooth and flowy, really low consequence. They did a sort of like sport bike race class, and the lunch sessions of their track days, and that gets you the taste for racing. And then when Penguin and NEMRR started doing the super street class, where you can just show up with your track day prepped bike and start racing, it was game on. Also, dragging Hana back into track days with me and having a homie to go race with didn't hurt anything. Been doing track days with my old man for a long time, since we started. He was riding on his old 91 ZX6, out there wrestling that thing around. So yeah, it was a really fun season last year. Got really into it, and now I just open up my wallet and hand it over to the NEMRR officials and tell them to take what they need. I go online and go to Sport Bike Track Gear, whoever, tell them to take whatever they need, and I start pulling crap onto my bike, and it's like it escalates quickly.
It escalates very quickly.
Yeah. I know all too well right now.
Yeah, so we have the new bike.
Go ahead, Hannah.
So I'm Hana. I've been riding on the street for about 20 years. Had done some track days a long time ago at the novice level. And then 2 years ago, got back out with Fletcher at Canaan and ended up doing a full season of about 8 track days, and did the Penguin NEMRR Super Street program with Fletcher, where you get to take your track prep bike and grid up and go race. And, that's how they get their hooks into you. But it shows that that racing is accessible. I had this idea in my head that you need to be this fast advanced group track day rider before you even think about racing. And that's just not what it is. I went from intermediate track day on Friday to super street race on Saturday, had a great time. The light bulb went off that this is achievable. And I bought a Ninja 400 to race and did all of last season with this crew, and it was a ton of fun.
Great.
Welcome.
And I came in kind of late in the season and met up with all of you. And as the old man, I guess, I am the old man. I'm just getting back into it after 20 plus years of being away from it. And racing families are racing families. It doesn't matter what region you're in or anything like that. I've met up with you guys, and we've become pretty good friends, and we pit and we have a good time. And it's that family atmosphere that's really pretty cool. And So yeah, I've been the SV still tore apart. The motor's getting completely redone, and then I got a deal on the new Aprilia, and yeah, it's well, if I had a wallet anymore, it'd be here on the desk, but I was going to try and gradually step into it, but my sponsor, Rob's Dyno Service, he's making it ridiculously easy to get the bike ready for the first round. Hopefully I'll be able to ride it. As a matter of fact, I talked to Billy Sane last night. I had a long chat with him on Facebook, and he's going to be down at the Roebling Road Race in February. So I'll see him down there. He also offered, if they couldn't get the bike shipped up to me, he said he'll be coming back up, that he could swing by and get it for me. But the shipping's all taken care of. It's just going to be another week or two before it gets here. So yeah, I don't know what's everybody else's plan. What's your goals for this coming season? I know I'm eyeballing white number plates, 21.5 in lightweight class. So I'm eyeballing getting my white plates back. How about anybody else?
It's a bit of a redemption story for you there, right? Gave him up years ago, and
yep, have to work my way back up to him.
I'm going back and forth. I've been kind of torn since last season. When I was able to string together consistent 20s. So I'm in the time to go down to expert, but there's never a better chance to maybe pick up an amateur championship than next season, and I probably won't have a shot again. So it seems like that might be a fun thing to go after, because how often you get to say you had a shot at that. I feel like maybe I'm passing over an opportunity if I go up, but at the same time, probably going to become a better, faster rider, putting a white plate on there and going chasing the fast guys. So still chewing on that one. I have to make some decisions.
Yeah, I hear you. Chasing championships. I looked over here, and I've still got one of these. Actually, I'm taking them over to the New England Motorcycle Museum. They're going to put them on display. I don't know if that's going to focus. I don't know if it'll focus.
You kind of like put your hand behind it to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
96, 98,
96. That was a long time ago. So I can I've got another one just like it for the sportsman class as well. So I took 2 championships that year, amateur year, before I bumped up to expert. So yeah, go get it, man. You definitely got the times, for sure.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I guess I'm not real worried about being sandbagging out there, because a lot of fast guys went up, but there are plenty of other fast guys to go race with. So I think it'll be fun to be able to go out and run at the top, and I don't know, maybe make myself more appealing to a sponsor or something like that. So it doesn't pay for itself.
Yeah. The camera sponsor I was talking about at the end of the season kind of fell through on me when I told him how much it was. He says, well, man, I was figuring $100 or something. No. So that kind of flopped out. But we still got plenty of camera gear to put on the bikes.
Yeah, well, enough to make
we need to put a camera on the back of your bike facing forward.
I know.
So you can see what you're doing, and then you can consciously. I'll tell you what. Back when I was teaching for the Ed Bargy School, no such thing as cameras on the bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like for the Daytona 200 guys, and the cameras were huge. But with all of the GoPros and stuff nowadays, I self-diagnosed all of my races. I could tell myself exactly what I'm doing wrong, but then it's to get it in here to do it out on the track. That's my problem right now. And Fletcher's the one that helped me the most this past year. Just giving me the right gear selection to be in when I'm going around the corners. Carrying way more corner speed now, and if it wasn't for that little oopsie I had there the last race of round 7 where the rear end slid out on me, I probably could have got down below the 23s. But I had that little slide, and that's all it took. I was like, I don't want to eat it. and the track was cold and everybody was cold, and
That was a wild, wild round.
yes, it was.
I couldn't believe how many people ate it warming up and then cooling down.
Yeah, I had 2 red flags on outlaps.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it kind of like got my hopes up because my last race, 2 people ate it on the outlap. And I thought that maybe I got 3rd place because he ate it in the last lap. Wishful thinking, but.
Oh, I see. We got some. I don't know. Can you guys see the chats?
Yeah.
Oh, there's chats.
Yeah,
There's
there's
chats.
chats. I can click on them and they'll come up. This is a friend of mine. He's a retired law enforcement guy. He did a lot of infiltrating into some of the 1% motorcycle clubs back in the day. And I've ridden with him out at Sturgis. Really cool guy. And let's see, who else we got in here? I got Diver Dan, Navy vet. Not a huge motorcycle guy, racing guy, but wanted to comment and get the algorithm going. And he said he'll share stuff with people he knows that are into the sport. That's great. So I got a couple people that are watching us live.
Oh,
Hannah, you've been awful quiet, man. What's your goals for next year?
So I just got at the end of the season. I got the bump up out of novice, so I'll be starting 23 as an amateur, which I'm pretty stoked about. So my goal is to just come out and improve my riding and be able to hang with that crew. And, just trying to go out and do the best I can. So pretty stoked on it. And the whole novice experience was really good, and it was a really friendly way to get started and get faster. And now I just want to keep going faster.
Well, when you go out and you ride with faster people, you get faster.
It definitely brings you up for sure.
You definitely do. And somebody mentioned it about a photo you posted about how bottomed out your front suspension was going through, what was it, 9 into 10?
Exit 10.
Yeah. And man, that thing must have pushed like crazy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I would think.
Like the bike I was riding was really stock all season, which I think was really good for me to learn to ride what I had without upgrading too much on it. But now my riding's at a place where I'm going to put the upgrades into some suspension and some power mods, and feel like those will pay dividends now that I maybe wouldn't have noticed earlier in the season.
Yeah,
There's definitely a cap where you need a lot of talent to start going faster on stock suspension components, especially. You can go very far, but eventually you start to hit that ceiling, and you put the best rider in the world on there, and they'll get it done, but they're gonna have to work really hard.
And I am not that rider. So suspension parts. And weight.
So is that what you got going on for this season? You're going to do some suspension work? I think you mentioned you got suspension coming.
Yeah, so we're going to put some fork cartridges in and flash the ECU, new exhaust, quick shifter. So just those nice to haves that should make the bike a little more, just a little bit higher performance package than a stock Ninja.
Well, you were doing really well that last round, I'll tell you. And yeah, the suspension will definitely make a big difference in the front, because that thing had to have been pushing like crazy when it was bottoming out.
It was doing some weird stuff. For sure.
It's a weird
Putting
corner.
it lightly.
I was trying to tread very lightly through there.
Anybody doing any traveling this coming year? Way seems like she's up for anything.
What are your goals for 23? Where's your head
Me?
at?
Oh
Or-
God.
yeah, what's her goals? Exactly.
I mean, obviously to get faster. I'm trying not to put so much pressure on myself anymore. I just felt so pressured in the beginning of the year because I saw so much speed gain initially. But then, when I went down finally, everyone's like, you can't ride the way you're riding and go faster. You're just going to go down. So I guess this year was kind of trying to work on my fundamentals. And it's tough because, as you guys know, I have pretty much no experience. Everything I've learned has been at, like school with you guys. So I think that, that's been it's been great because I'm learning the right way now, but it was also bad because I don't think people realize how little I knew. So, so now it's just like I'm working on my body positioning, which is the bane of my absolute existence right now. I mean, Eric just will not give me an inch, man. It's brutal. He's like my Asian tiger mom, So that's really where I'm at, just working on my body positioning, growing a bigger set of balls, braking later, carrying more corner speed, and being more confident, I think. I see that there's little things that have been plaguing me, especially stalling out at race starts, which has happened, once or twice at Loudon. And in Miami, it actually happened twice in my 2 last races, which nearly like drove me nuts. But it also has to do with being so short. I can't touch the ground. So like feeling like I can launch safely is really difficult. So I just need to work on like little things that I guess, nobody can teach you, so it's things like that. And, just being able to take care of my own bike by myself too. I mean, I would love to say, yeah, I would love to become an amateur, next year, but, like one thing at a time.
Do you pit through and practice starts on practice days?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, when I ride street, it's not the best, but I like launch start at red lights too.
Always.
And they're great. And I mean, as you can see, like, I talked with Hannah, like in one of those videos, Craig, that you had, like, I'll start in the back of the grid. And if I have if I don't stall out, I can get mid pack, it's just, I don't know. I think like my head gets a little too wound up. And if I'm not right there, or if I see somebody pop a wheelie in front of me, it makes me, it does something. And then like, I stall out.
When you stall, do you feel more that you're chopping the throttle or dumping the clutch too fast?
I think that I probably am trying to like let the clutch out soft, but then I'm not giving enough gas, and then it just like stalls out, and then my bike has it's not like wired properly anymore, so I have to get it back into neutral, restart it, and then kick it back into one again, which is really painful. So that's why I end up on the track for like a couple more seconds than I should.
So it sounds like the clutch lever switch. No, it would be the kickstand switch, maybe. Something's not wired right if you have to put it in neutral to start it.
Yeah, I actually talked to somebody about it, and there's like a little looper that you can get, and you can stick it in where like the clutch is, or you can literally, from what he said, is you can cut that and
Cut
just
the wires and just twist
butt connect it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just gonna do that, and so if this keeps on happening, at least I'm not freaking out as much, at the starting grid.
To make sure you don't fire it up in gear with your warmers on.
Yeah. That'd be ugly.
It's been known to happen.
Who did that? Who did that last year, right?
We're not naming names.
Yeah, not naming names.
But it happened.
I know a guy.
Last year?
Yeah.
No one on this call, but we know a guy.
Noted. That'll be another new thing that I can, be emotionally traumatized from.
financially traumatized as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get warmers too.
Oh, you don't have warmers, Greg?
Oh, I do, but they're for a 160. They're not for the 180 on the new bike.
Oh, you saw that like Woodcraft thing where you can trade your other ones in?
Well, I'm going to try and make a package deal sometime this year on the SV and sell it.
Ah,
Lock,
gotcha.
stock, and barrel.
That's going to be a killer package for somebody. Fletcher, you do not need another SV. Just putting that out there.
I was making up my to-do list in the shop this weekend, and I was like, man, I got 3 sets of brake pads to clean, 5 calipers to clean, 6 forks to dump and refresh the oil in, 2 more sets of slicks to buy. Just it's gonna be fun, man. But
My front forks on the SV were so screwed up. I'm surprised I could even ride it. I pulled the forks off. I sent them down to Traction Dynamics because it had supposedly had their cartridges in it.
yeah,
Now, a guy I used to race with, Max McAllister, owns Traction Dynamics. So I sent it to him. Plus, I also sent him a picture of a number 1 plaque I got from Wera because I did CCS 96 and I showed up for one Wera race at Roebling Road. And he was like the golden boy in Clubman. And I went out there and spanked his ass. So I sent him a picture of it. I said, remember this? But
good way to keep them on your side.
yeah, long story short, somebody had screwed the valves all up inside the cartridges. The forks were bent a little bit. And one of them was 30 thousandths out, and the other one was only like 7 thousandths out, but the one was bent pretty good. So they straightened the fork tubes. They basically put a brand new set of AK-20 cartridges in it. And they gave me a pretty good discount on them. They're usually like $1,500. I got them for $12. So my front forks are perfect on the SV. The rear shock just came back from Olin's, completely redone. And now the motor. I was going to do it here, but Rob's got a new technician. As a matter of fact, he's a racer. You'll be racing with him with the 300. Waylon Dempsey.
Yeah, I think I recognize that name off the grid sheet.
Yep. He's a 20-year wrench at Suzuki dealerships. So plus he builds race motors. So he's got 2 sets. I brought him an extra set of cylinders with it, and he's going to take the best ones. And we're putting new pistons, rings, all new valves. And what it was my intake valves were so tight, I only had 80 pounds of compression in the front cylinder. So I was way down on power and didn't even know it.
Plus, no,
and that's why it was getting progressively harder and harder to start because the front valves were stretched so bad, even the thinnest shim wouldn't give us enough clearance. So doing all new valves.
Fletcher, I had a question for you guys on, and especially you, Fletcher, since you raced as a novice on both a 300 and an SV. And one of the questions I see online a lot from people thinking about getting into racing or their first dedicated track bike is, do they go for the SV class? And there's a ton of those out there, or do they go for the light, like the ultralight, whether it's a 300 or an R3 or something like that? Do you have any thoughts on that? What you point people at?
Yeah, I mean, they're both such fun bikes. You can for sure get yourself in more trouble on an SV than you can on a little Ninja. I mean, you can cook yourself in too hot and override the sad little stock caliper, but you got to really mean it to get it up to enough speed to then overcook your entry or whatever. And it's so light and it's so forgiving. And I find myself even now, and some of this could just, be tuning. I'm on first gen, so I'm on carbs still. But even in some of the tight chicanes where you've got a little bit of maintenance throttle, that like on again, off again thing going on. And with the 300, you're just like to the bar, like 8, 10, 100% throttle. You don't really have to modulate it. It's never going to be able to spin the wheel up on you like that, threshold of traction of once you get past that certain point of speed, you can feed as much throttle as you want because there's not enough horsepower to break the tires loose and then you can be applying throttle and bar input and get away with it. Something like an SV, you can get on the throttle and give that thing some bar input, and it can flick you. It's not going to do what an R6 would do to you, but I think just like physically and mentally, the focus required to ride just kind of a fun light bike like that. I mean, I look at it as like a break. On a track day, I ride the SV through the morning sessions, and I can take the Ninja out in the afternoon when I'm a little bit more tired. It's easier to ride. You don't have to wrestle the thing. You just throw it into the corners. It's got, pretty mellow body position. You're not as cramped up, so your legs won't bottle up as much on you. So if I was asked, I would usually throw both of those out to people. But I mean, you can't beat kind of just like the ease of use and the cost of entry on, little Ninja. I mean,
We gotta work on your confidence levels this year.
What's that?
After thinking and listening to Wei when she was talking about letting things get into her head, that's all a confidence thing. And we got to figure out a way to help you with that this year.
Yeah, I guess so. I was, it's so funny because I was watching some like race clips and the highlights and when people are like battling and, I'm obviously not there yet, but it's interesting to think that at some point I'm going to have to start getting close to people and blocking them and fighting them. And I got a little bit of a taste of that at Homestead because, I'll be honest, I'm the slowest at Loudon, which is fine. It makes sense because I have the least experience. But when I got to Homestead, I actually wasn't the slowest racer. I was probably faster than 3 or 4 guys. And when I stalled out in my first rate, I was like irate. I like literally flipped. I flipped the fuck out, and like, so when I finally got it back on and started it, like I redline, you could hear like every gear all the way to the first turn. Like everyone heard it. And then like my fist was smashing like the tank. And, I caught 2 people in that lap because I was so freaking angry. But it felt good, like I saw those guys in the straightaway and I was just like, boom, boom, like 1 second one. But it's tough, like once you're in it, you kind of can start feeling it. But I think that for me, I understand what it's like now, like I think that I hucked myself into racing because it looks so fun and I've wanted to do it forever, but I didn't realize, it's dangerous and you can crash and crashing hurts and it's expensive and it's demoralizing. And so I think little things like that kind of like chipped away at me. And looking at your photos of poor body positioning really are demoralizing. So it's tough, like the highs are so high and like the lows are so low. So I think that's kind of like where I'm at with that.
But you do have a full season under your belt now. So
It'll be
that's
easy to
help.
get you to build your confidence.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I think it's tough because everyone in my garage and everyone at Homestead was so good, like everyone in my vicinity is like really exceptional. And even you guys, like Hannah and Noah, like even though you guys were novices, you were like 1 and 2 championships, like, so there's a lot to like look up to, I guess.
But I think like Fletcher would speak to how like it took me time. I started the season really, really slow. And every fast person you share a garage with or a pit with, like everybody starts in the same place. And come next season, you know your way around Loudon. You've got more experience. The bike's a little more suited to you.
Mhm.
I mean, I think.
Go ahead,
Sorry, go
Fletcher.
ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead. No, you go. We lost your audio. What's up here? There you go.
I'm muted. I'm an idiot. 3 years on Zoom. I haven't found the button yet.
I was going to say it's Fletcher's first Zoom call.
Hey guys, first time here. No, I was just gonna say I can't say enough good things about taking Eric's class. Like, I did that for so many years that it just has been absolutely driven into my being, and I can just sort of reel it back off at will much more easily than I can go out and execute it. But at least I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But I think like that confidence and knowing where you're supposed to be on the track, knowing kind of what your goals are in the corners, knowing what your tells are for if you got your entry point right. If you can't pick up the throttle at the apex, you're coming in too hot. If you could put your kickstand down and fall over, you didn't carry enough speed in. Sort of all of these things that you learn through hearing that over and over again. And I did that for 5 or 6 years before I started racing. And I still learn stuff every time. We hear the same stuff over and over, and then like 3 years later, he says it again, and it clicks.
Yeah.
Then you're in that situation finally, or you finally got into that speed where that moment happens that like puts you in that situation where you have to call on that piece of knowledge. You're like, oh, there it is. And I know, Wei, you did a couple of those last year, but
I actually didn't. I only took advanced class once.
okay.
It was literally around 7. It was the first time I did it. And I wish I had done it sooner. Everyone kind of thought that I should hold off and just ride, and that they were worried that I would be kind of overwhelmed by advanced class. But
Yeah.
I wish I had done it sooner, because then he could have told me what I was doing wrong sooner.
Did you have a chance to look at any of those videos I told you about?
The ones that you sent me?
Yeah, the Ed Bargy ones.
I haven't. I've just been so overwhelmed with work. I started a new job, and then, getting ready for Miami. But I've been really wanting to. I even got Champ U, and like I'm probably a quarter of the way through. So it's just been like mishmashy.
Ed's got a lot of good videos out. One of the things I found, I took the licensing school from Penguin, and based on what I took when I took the Ed Bargy school way back when, totally different concept. The Penguin licensing school is nothing more than they don't really give you any of the mechanics of the racing. These are the flags. This is it. There you go.
No, not even that. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know how we knew when to stop racing, really. I'm not gonna lie.
Checkers are red.
Two colors.
But yeah, and if you look at the bottom of my 388 Racing YouTube page, if you go down the bottom, I've got Ed's page on there, and he's been posting up some part of a video series thing he's doing. But guy's been around forever. He's got more WERA national championships than anybody I know. And I found out something the other day I forgot all about. 1997 Daytona 200. Guess who was there? Eric Wood.
Makes sense.
Greg,
Exactly.
what was your experience like having been an expert racer and then coming back into the novice class, which my understanding is that novice is sort of unique to the NEMRR program, and like CCS and WERA, you're either an amateur and an expert. So your first day racing, you're just an amateur and out there with them and have at it.
Actually, I kind of like the novice program. I think it's a good idea. I think I don't think I progressed as quickly as I could have if I had jumped in with the amateurs,
Sure.
because I would have been a little bit more on my mark riding with some faster people. But I think it's a great concept. It actually, at the end of the season, I was feeling comfortable. And like I said, it doesn't matter who you are, you can always learn something. Fletcher taught me a lot about the SV. Never ridden an SV. I was trying to ride it like a 600. I was trying to be a gear lower and winding the piss out of it everywhere I went, keeping it way up in the RPMs. And you don't have to with an SV. I mean, anything at 5,000 RPMs up, the thing's going to pull like a freight train. And I noticed, being a gear taller, especially in 3, before I was a gear lower, and I'm pulling way harder at lower RPM going up the hill now. So I finally started getting that all sorted out. But yeah, going from an expert back, there's an old saying: the older I get, the faster I was. That's the old saying. So it's a humbling experience, because I'm not as fast as I was by any means. But I think I can still get there at some point. It's kind of humbling. But I'll get there.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think
hope so. I hope so. I need some, like, some faith, because I know none of us here are very young.
so.
Yeah, and even back then, I mean, I got a late start. I was in my 30s, and yeah, I was
We're all
doing
late
really
bloomers,
well.
I
But,
guess.
huh?
We're all late bloomers here, I guess.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, club racing's great.
Yeah.
Have I thought of maybe if I do get this Aprilia all sorted out and put down, I'm never going to be. Who was it that just put down a 112 on one?
Ben Glotty.
Galati.
Yeah, I'm never going to be Ben Glotty speed, but you know what? I might be back of the pack Moto America speed, because I've been watching a lot of the Twins Cup racing, and some of the back guys. Yeah, I could probably hang out with them, but there's no way I'd ever be up front.
We could put together a pretty motley pit crew for you. Just
Yeah,
put that out there.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen though.
I don't know. You'd be surprised.
You never know what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, the 97 200, I watched the whole. Somebody has posted the whole video series, and yeah, that was the year that Eric said he was going to go professional road racing. That was his career goal at that point. So, yeah, I knew I had seen him before, because I know I saw him in the pits, or I saw him at Riders Brief or something like that. All the big 200 riders came and did the CCS week with us, and I had a friend of mine from the Army he was living in Florida. He came up and came into the pits. He thought it was greatest thing since sliced bread, because he was a big motorcycle enthusiast. And I'll never forget, we were standing in a big group, and I'm trying to listen to the riders meeting because I need to know what's going on. And of course, you got all these pro riders standing behind us that are just sandbagging us in our races. And I turned around and I said, "Would you shut the fuck up?" And my buddy's like, "Do you know who you just told to shut the fuck up?" I said, "No, that was Scott Russell back there." I said, "So what? He needs to shut up."
Classic. Craig, when you started racing in the 90s, track days weren't as big a thing, right? Like, it was kind of like, if you wanted to go on the track, you went and raced, right?
That was pretty much it.
So that was kind of your introduction, was just like, here we go, let's go racing.
Yeah, that was mid 90s. That's about what it was like. And then toward the end, once around 99 2000, you'd get these little groups that would pop up, and then they'd start renting racetracks. And I had a friend of mine. He wasn't a racer. He was just a guy I used to ride on the street with. And he formed a little group, and they started renting out Rolling Road. And back then, I think it cost like $2,500 to rent the track for a day. And yeah, for a day. Yeah, you can't touch it for that now. I guarantee you. But then we started doing some track days, and it's really booming. There's tons of track day groups out there, and they all make good money, but it costs them big money nowadays too.
I don't think it's an easy business.
Yeah, I mean, I
What-
wonder sometimes how they make money to some extent. You know, maybe it's less to rent a track than I think. But you look at the the infrastructure, whatever the insurance riders are. You got to either beg, borrow, or steal some flaggers out there. Beg, borrow, and steal some instructors. Some of them buy you lunch. For $200 a person, you get 20, 30, 60, however many people there. It seems like the math is kind of tight. And I mean, to Hannah's point about track days not being a thing, I remember I was surprised to learn that I could just go do a track day, because I was aware. I used to go to the Loudon Bike Weeks back when AMA was still running at Loudon. Me and my old man would go down, and he was aware of the Penguin School, but I think at that point they were still just doing the the race certification class and hadn't maybe really gotten into, or at least publicized, the track day thing. And I finally talked with a guy at work, a couple years before I started riding. He's like, "No, you just got to, tape your stuff up, go down there, and just go out and ride for the day." I was like, "What? Really? They'll let me just go out there and ride around in circles?" Like, yeah. So I did it, and then here we are.
Wei, had you done any track days prior to getting your race license?
One. So yeah, I rode, that fall, and then in the spring came, and I had friends that rode motorcycles. So one of my friends was basically like, you want to experience all this stuff, so let's take you to a non-sport bike track day.
Okay.
So I think Ken Condon and Tony's track days, they're kind of like little baby. So basically you can bring anything, except for a sport bike. Actually, they're basically anything but a sport bike. So, I saw full bagger there, all the way up to GS's. And so it's basically the most basic introduction to track riding, which I think was perfect for me, probably perfect for anyone. So I did that on my first motorcycle, which was a little Honda CB300. And so I took that out, and I had a really good time. It was at Palmer. And they bumped me up to intermediate, actually, which felt really great, but also terrible, because then, that's actually the first time I've ever experienced people parking it in the corners, because it was my little 300 and then all these leader bikes, and then they would catch me in all the straightaways, but then park it in every corner. I was just trapped, absolutely trapped, because there's rules, so you can't pass them once there's a corner, and I'm clawing my face off.
Big biked. So how is that jump from that to, I did one day of non-sport bike track day, to let's go grid up?
It was different. I think that I was a little more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I had yet to feel the true pain. So it was I had such a good time at B school with everyone, and I'll say that I'm really lucky to just kind of have random support and just kind of know enough people that were willing to kind of help support me in all these endeavors, because I can see why this is so difficult for people to get into, because I didn't even know any of this stuff existed, honestly. My whole introduction to all of this was, I went to go buy my first motorcycle, and I found out that the family that runs the shop, the Betancourts, they're from like a long lineage of racers.
Yes,
And
they
like,
are.
yeah, and Bobby races Moto America and all that stuff. So, we were chatting and he's just like, you should go to Penguin School. And actually, my first road race that I ever saw was, at Loudon. It was, you guys probably were racing, actually, like not this September that happened, but last September. I went to see you guys race on my birthday, and that was the first time I ever saw it. One of my friends was friends with an old racer, so they brought me into the pits and I got to see all the carnage. Two guys came out, they just crashed. One that like his shoulder like was like basically down here, and it was like the most ghetto like little string like sling that I ever saw. He's like, "You think I should go to the hospital?" I'm like, yes, 110% yes. And then everyone's just like, just take, go to B school. And honestly, when I showed up, to the classic this year, it was hilarious because, I didn't know anyone, like I got my bike on the truck and I showed up. And so that friend that basically took me into the pits, like I got to know him a little more, and he introduced me to Todd in my garage. And so Todd just kind of like took me under his wing and helped me prep my bike. And I don't know if you guys know, but I burned out my clutch like that weekend.
Was that on the CB?
No, I was on. So I bought a Ninja just for the track, and that was like basically a brand new Ninja. Like it had like maybe 300 miles on it, and I burned the clutch out like right away. So that was wild. It was like, so many people were like trying to help me. It was amazing, because if I was there by myself, like halfway through my first day of race class, I probably would have just like, that was it, like just gone home. There's nothing else I could do. But everyone was so nice, and I had the introduction, so we were able to get back and up and running the next day. And I rented a Penguin bike for half the day, so it wasn't too bad. So I managed to get certified, and bought a bike off of Jacob randomly that weekend too, because he was selling it. He took me on like a loop, like a follow the leader basically, and then he's like, "I'm selling my bike. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Okay." So, yeah, so it was just like a lot of fortuitous events, kind of like helping me get there in like a very difficult and hard to navigate sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a testament to that family atmosphere, right? Like it's easy to go in there and be intimidated. I was doing it for years and I still was. I'm kind of a quiet, introverted type. But like anytime you need something, every single person in the pit is the nicest person, willing to help you do, whatever it is you need. They'll drop what they're doing. They'll come twist a wrench for you. They'll go dig in their trailer and find a part. They got their helmet half on trying to go out. And then, oh, hey, and let me get this wrench for you so you can, finish up what you need. Let me hold that while you get your tire on. Let me get your warmers for you. Let me grab the stand for you. It's feels intimidating, but kind of once you nestle yourself in there, it's such a cool group of people.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, that's something that's been throughout the years, I think. Even, back in my time, I got hooked up with a guy by the name of Frank Stroman. He was a big EX guy back then and built some killer motors. And I latched on to him when I first got going and started putting an EX together. And we had some pretty crazy EX 500s, 80, 90 horsepower EX 500s with like an F2 rear wheel, an F3 front end on it, just totally hybrid. And yeah, Frank was he's not riding anymore. His hips went bad on him. Otherwise, I'd have him out there. But he was one hell of a motor builder. I went to the this was 95. I went to the Wera GNF Grand National Final, and I had just put a brand new set of pistons in my EX, and I seized the motor at Road Atlanta coming down the back straight over Wheelie Hill. And the motor seized. So parked it, let it sit for a little while. It started back up, and I managed to get it back into the pit, but couldn't race it. So I took his backup bike with an engine he built in it, and I started. Now, this is just one class, Clubman. They had to break it down in 2 different waves because there were so many people on the grid. There probably was 50 people on the grid just for the Clubman class.
Wow.
And from all over the U.S., I was second row, second wave. And on Frank's backup bike, I finished 7th overall. So he was building a hell of a bike.
Sounds like you rode a hell of a bike too.
Well, I was riding the wheels off of it. I was definitely riding because I was so pissed off. My bike was dead.
Yeah.
I was having to start in the second row, second wave, and all you see is bikes in front of you. And it might have only been 40. It might have been 20 and 20 the way they split it. But that's a lot of bikes to go through. Plus, you have that they still start down on the front straightaway. Going into turn 1, they waited for the first wave to get into turn 1 before they turned us loose. So I had that much of a deficit plus that whole group. And I'll never forget that. Taking pictures of us. This will all be on my YouTube channel.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna post it on my social media too.
Oh, cool.
Well, just to link to it. Sorry, I got a new phone case and I have to flip the ear up to get everyone in it.
So where'd your rat go?
Yeah.
Fletcher can't find his.
What?
I think I gave all the rats away.
You
I might not even
own
I
rat
might not
away.
even kept my own rat, but I got the link to we'll order another 6-pack and we can all go
Pure
tech.
generosity.
Yeah, we can all go through tech round 1 with our
Little
rat
ratties.
pack on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna make us stickers. Don't worry.
Perfect.
You know what I will say that
Got
is
some more
really.
people popping in here. Some of my subscribers from my other channel.
Oh, you have 2 channels? Wow, you're a busy
Yeah,
man.
I've got another channel. I do a lot of stolen valor investigations and look into the phony fakers that are out there. And I've got a pretty good sized channel going over there. I actually get some revenue from it. And some of these guys, I've been hounding them to come join my new channel so we can get it up. But what's going on? Krabby McCrab face. Say again?
Get them out on race bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got an extra one now.
Everybody come racing.
I do. I'm going to have to race that one for Armor, though, because they didn't update their rule book. The SOT, Sound of Thunder 3 is capped at 650 cc's for a 4-valve water cool.
No, just pull a Ricky and detune that thing a little bit.
Yeah, but it says 660 right on the side of it.
Yeah,
you got a marker.
Flip over it. Yeah.
Whale make you a sticker.
Just put your rat on it, and they'll never know.
I'm gonna race the SV.
It's one of those new Aprilia 640s.
Just de-stroke the 660. Get a second engine. You can swap the engines in between races. You're a motivated guy. You had your bike stripped down and your suspension in the mail before mine were even out of the trailer at the end of the season. I got 1 set of brake pads on so far. I'm not exactly cranking through my list here.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was pretty motivated at the end of the season. I was more motivated to figure out what the hell was wrong with the bike. And I was really, until I started checking the valves, and then I said, that's not good. And then when I did the compression check, then I knew for a fact what the problem was, that there was something going on with the valves. So
that's on my list. It'll be my first shim under bucket. valve job this season. A little,
Not hard.
yeah. It sounds like
Not-
getting to him is the hard part. That rear cylinder's buried.
Actually, it's pretty easy because it is buried, but I mean everything is right there, right on the top.
Yeah,
So it's not as canted forward as the front cylinder is, but of course it's not out in the open. You still got to work around.
yeah.
But now it'll be easy.
I mean, I'll have a car. I'm doing the carb swap. The new SV I bought's got the flat slides on it. I'm going to move those onto the current bike, make the new one super sport legal, and hopefully go race the USCRA with it.
Yeah, I got Fingers just said, he said road racing is the only thing I have not tried on motorcycles yet.
It's fun. It's the last frontier.
I know if I
It's a
can
lot
do
of
it,
fun.
you can do it.
Yeah, Way gets
Come-
out there. She
Come join
she
the
don't
party.
hit first. You get up on the top of the diving board and just
Seriously. I had my toes in the water for 4
I give
years
you
before I
you
did
know
it.
double thumbs up on that because that takes a lot of guts to do what you've done. You've never ridden a motorcycle and just chucked it.
Straight in.
Throw it. I'm going for it.
You want to know a fun fact too? It'll like motivate you to like even, like ride motorcycles if you haven't. Is that I didn't even have my driver's license either. I never drove a car.
All feet
That's
straight
news
into
to
the
me.
pool.
That's ridiculous.
That is awesome though. I mean,
So-
you
Hey guys, I gotta blow out of here. I got a call with my compatriots in Japan.
yeah, that's right. You said, and I was going to
the
try and
NZ.
keep it at about an hour anyway. But
So it was super cool catching up with you guys. We'll
Yeah.
be in touch in the little messenger group.
Yeah.
Good luck down in Roebling Road. I guess that's not for a little while, but
February.
Start training
Sooner
now.
than you think.
I'm already counting the days.
I bet.
7.5 weeks.
I'm already counting down to round one.
Yeah, it'll be right after that. Won't be long.
Oh, wow.
All
All right,
right, good
Fletcher.
catching up with you guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks for
Bye,
jumping
Fletch.
in, man. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Are you gonna do Homestead next spring too, Craig?
Probably not.
Okay.
We're going down the Roebling Road because we lived there for quite a long time, and we've got a lot of friends right there in the area. As a matter of fact, the guy I bought the 660 from, I helped him get his start in the motorcycle business. Kind of, he decided he had just got there from Ohio, was opening up a small shop, and I went in just chatting with him, and I started turning wrenches for him and doing some jet kits and stuff, and helped him progress. And he grew and grew, and now he's got 2 Aprilia dealerships, Aprilia Moto Guzzi, and we just got lots of friends down there. My house was less than a half a mile from the racetrack, so that's why we're going to Roebling Road. Is we're going down a week prior and spend time with all of our friends, and then I'll do the Armor race that weekend, and hopefully I'll get to run both bikes. Because if I do run the 660, I'll run that in the Sound of Thunder 2 class, which is the middleweight class, and then I'll run the SV in the lightweight class.
It would be a nice shakedown of both bikes.
It's a fast track. It's a fast track, and I catch myself watching people's videos, and I mean they're sitting up and braking at like the 4 marker going into turn 1, even though that straightaway you're wide open. I mean, as fast as the bike will go, but you can go so deep in there before you ever have to touch the brakes because it's like a sweep to the right, but then it tightens up into turn 2 with a reducing radius turn, and then you're right back on the gas again, 100 miles an hour down through 3, going into 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you hit 9. 9's a 100-mile-an-hour corner coming up on the straightaway, and it's just pinned. Pin it to win it.
That was just like Homestead. I've never experienced anything like that. Have you ridden anything like that yet, Hannah?
No, I really haven't gotten to ride too many tracks.
It's fucking terrifying. I actually was like in class with Eric actually when I was at Homestead for like the Ducati Revs part, and it's like talking to like an immovable wall, and he's just like, you should be pinned wide open, down the straightaway and into turn one, and like right as you get to like the first, like blue white rumble strip, that's when you start braking for turn two. And I was just like, I can't do that. He's like, why can't you do that? It takes no skill at all. And I was like, that's not the problem. It's that my balls aren't big enough. You just like, it doesn't take any skill. Just like hold it wide open.
They're called track nuts.
My track nuts aren't big enough. So
you have to find your track nuts is what I was told. You just need to find your track nuts again and you'll be fine.
Like, yeah, I mean, I found them eventually, but it's crazy because turn one isn't like really a turn, it's like it's a slow sweep. Actually, here, ta-da! turn one right here. 100 miles an hour, and then he wants you to like brake right here for turn two. Wide open, and I'm like, what?
You'll get there.
I did.
Yeah, Finger said major props to you. He's super impressed that you jumped in like you did.
For real.
Yeah, it happens when you don't have enough brain cells.
Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to help you with your confidence this year, and we're going to stick a couple of cameras on your bike.
Yeah.
And get you some video.
I will say that the camera, I had never ridden with a camera on my bike. And Craig, when you put a camera on my bike around round 5 or 6, I think round 5, it really kind of helped me make the biggest improvement, because there's what you think you're doing on the track and like where I think I'm braking, where I think I'm wide open. And then there's what's really happening, and watching the footage afterwards, like when you posted it to YouTube, and then you and Fletcher would kind of dissect it and give me marching orders for the next round, what to work on in practice. Like the lap time just really started improving quickly.
Yeah, it did.
Because you see your bike placement, you can hear what the engine's doing. You can hear if you're rolling off the gas in places where you think you're at wide open throttle. And yeah, it's a pretty powerful tool.
The camera, I'll tell you, the camera is the best teaching aid there is nowadays. I only wished we had them back then, because it would have helped me progress even farther than I did back then. And it's helping me a lot now. Like I said, I can go back to my experience with teaching for Ed, and everything I learned from him back in the day, and I can tell you exactly what you need to be doing to go through that corner. I can tell you exactly what you need to be doing to knock off those seconds. I can't tell myself that. That's why I've got the camera. And when I start looking at what I'm doing, I'm telling myself, why are you doing that? You know better. That's like you come out of the bowl, come up the hill, that blind hill. I cannot keep it pinned. As I get to the top of the hill, I roll it off. I don't know what it is. I just, it's like, what are you doing, dumbass? You got all that to go before you even need to touch the brakes and turn in. That's a very sketchy place to go to. I just can't. I got a mind block, and I'm going to get over it this year. There's no doubt about it. That and going into one, I'm still letting off the gas early. I'm not braking early. I'm off the gas way too early.
I'm doing the same thing.
And I've been like trying to 50 foot it. And that's what we used to do. We used to, go 50 feet. Figure out what 50 feet is and go 50 feet and see how that feels. And just inch your way up as you're going. So, because turn one it's so freaking wide going into turn one. And you can stay up on the wall a lot longer than I do. I'm always cutting in early. So Those are the two spots I really need to work on this year, for sure.
Well, the thing I found is like as you start to make an improvement in one part of your riding, now like other things that were fine at your pace before now need correction to catch up.
Mechanical,
so kind of like
mechanical parts even.
Mechanical parts as well. But yeah, you fix one thing and you get a little quicker, and then you realize you got to go back and fix some other things that you previously been okay with. And now it's like, oh, my turn-in needs to be more deliberate because now I'm arriving at a faster pace.
Oh yeah, I learned that the hard way at Homestead.
Well, you saw me one time, Way, when I blew turn.
You almost went into 3.
Oh, I was so much concentrating on her. I'm like, I don't want to spook her, but I'm going to go ahead and pass her going into 3. And then as I go by her, I go, fuck, I should have already been on the brakes.
I know. I was a little scared for you.
And the bike's like, whoa. And I'm come on, you can do this. And I don't know how I didn't bounce off the tires to go up the hill.
I know, because I saw you and I was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And don't watch either. When somebody goes off, you want to put blinders on you because you don't want to follow them.
Oh my God. Yeah. I had a little bit of that at Homestead. Somebody was trying to beat me into turn 2. And he didn't brake enough and he missed it. He just went off the grass and then he flew off the bike. And so I was just like, okay, don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, definitely. It's okay if you catch it out of your peripheral.
Yeah.
You know, you see a little puff of dust or something over there and it sucks to be them. And you just keep looking where you're going. But
I found it really like tricky the first couple times somebody crashed right in front of me. And like, just look anywhere but where they are right now.
Yeah, because you don't want to follow along.
I do not wish to join that party.
I will say that going to Miami and experience a new group of people, a different track, was really eye-opening. And there's a couple of things that I took away from it. Was that track days are not safer than racing. I will tell you that. Like the little track days that I've experienced are way more messed up than racer practice. And even, and I've been hit while racing too, like, that happens. But, at the Ducati Revs event, there was a huge bike pileup in the straightaway, like all these leader bikes got super, I don't know what happened. I'm so glad I was in the bathroom. It was in my group too. And they just destroyed their bikes. I think a Street Fighter, a Panigale, an R1, and one of our guys, got tangled up in it. So, that was an absolute shit show. You don't see things like that, while you're racing usually. So I was kind of shocked. And since there's no novice, I had to race with the amateurs. So I was a little nervous, but it just goes to show you the level of riders and teachers at Loudon and at Penguin, because I'm the slowest at Loudon, but I was definitely not the slowest, and I wasn't even an amateur yet, down in Miami. So I feel like, it's hard, it's like a tough loving at Loudon, but, it made me realize that, it's like building me up and that it's making me better compared to like, I'm not, trying to be mean, but like, better than some people that are, in different tracks.
Yep. Yeah. Loudon is definitely a very technical track. There's no doubt about that. That's one of the more technical tracks around. Because like Roebling's not very technical. It's just really fast. So you have to be on your game. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of, there's almost no elevation change. There's one off camber turn, one reducing radius turn. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. It's just really fast. Road Atlanta is a hoot. I love that place. That's a great place to go ride. Little Talladega, that's another one that's just into Alabama up by Atlanta. That's another great track. Barber. What else? Place we used to call it Summit Point, but you got Summit Point. The track used to be horrible back in the 90s. I don't know what it's like now, but VIR. There's lots of tracks, but nothing up here. And you can't blame them. They can't make any money up here when you can't be open for 4 or 5 months out of the year, where you can't do anything. So, well, we've been cranking on here about an hour and 15. So I wanted to try and keep it kind of short. This was a lot of fun.
Tons of fun.
Yeah, I
See you
loved
guys
it.
again.
And lets everybody else see what we're up to, and maybe we can do it again or get a few more people together. And well, you never know. We'll see. But definitely a lot of fun.
And if anybody's watching and thinking about racing, come join the party.
Yeah, really. Come check it out because, well, look what happens when you come and check it out at the Loudon Classic. And just a reminder, guys, Loudon Classic this year, $250,000 purse. So for anybody that's watching this or anybody that's watching the replay of the live, I believe it's one of the highest paying races in the United States for motorcycles this year. It's got a $250,000 purse, and that's 50 or 60 grand for the first place guy, something like that. So
I think even if you're dead last, you still win at least $1,000.
Yeah, it's like the top 30, and I think that they limit the class to 30 because of the size of the track. Otherwise, they'd be catching each other before they got around the track halfway.
I've heard whispers of like really big names coming. They're building.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of Moto America guys showing up for that kind of money. No doubt about it. All right. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for hosting.
Fun. It's good to see you guys. Can't wait to see you out at the track. But as always, keep the shiny side up, rubber side down, and have a great day, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Talk to you later.